Okay, let's talk about something fascinating. What if the parts of you that you've been taught to hide, the parts you might even be ashamed of, are actually where your greatest strengths are hiding? I know, it sounds a little wild, but that is the core idea from the brilliant psychologist Carl Jung that we are going to unpack today.
So we're going to start with an experience I am pretty sure every single one of us has had at some point. That moment where you learned that to fit in, to be accepted, well, you had to slice off a little piece of yourself.
I want you to just think back for a second. At some point in your life, probably when you were really young,
You got the message. Maybe it was said out loud, maybe it wasn't, but you learned that some fundamental part of who you are was just wrong, unacceptable. Maybe it was your sensitivity and you were told to toughen up. Maybe it was your anger and you were told it was bad. Or maybe, just maybe, it was your simple human need to rest, and that got labeled as being lazy.
And what do you do when you're a kid? You want to be loved, you need to be accepted. So you took that piece of yourself and you pushed it down. You buried it deep, hoping no one would ever see it again.
But here's the absolute game changer. This is what Carl Jung spent his entire career trying to tell us. You didn't actually kill that part of you. No way. You lost track of it. And believe me, it is still there, right now, pulling strings in your life whether you realize it or not. So, this collection of lost parts, this invisible baggage we all carry around, what is it? Well, Jung gave it a name. He called it the shadow. Let's break down what he actually meant by that.
Now, the name shadow sounds kind of dark and spooky, doesn't it? Like some evil twin. But it's not. It's a technical term. Just think of it like a storage unit in your mind. And inside that unit, you've tossed every trait, every impulse, every desire that your world told you was not okay.
And what's so wild is the kind of stuff that ends up in there. It's not just bad things. A lot of the time, we bury pure gold, a creative impulse that wasn't seen as practical, your deep need for quiet time, which got labeled antisocial, even righteous anger, the kind that stands up to injustice. That gets buried too, because it was seen as too disruptive.
And here is the problem. These parts don't just sit there quietly. They go underground and they start acting on their own. It's like a rogue agent inside your own psyche. Jung called it an autonomous entity. It's a part of you making decisions, influencing your moods and actions, all without your conscious permission.
So if this is all happening subconsciously, how in the world are you supposed to find it? Well, the shadow isn't actually that subtle. It has a very specific way of waving a giant flag to get your attention. And once you learn to spot it, you'll see it everywhere.
That flag is a mechanism Jung called projection. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but its consequences are massive. When you push a trait into your shadow, you become blind to it in yourself. But you start seeing it with an intense, sometimes totally irrational emotion in other people. Think of it as a simple three-step process. First, you suppress a trait. Second, you lose the ability to see it in yourself. And third, when you see someone else freely expressing that exact trait, you have a huge emotional reaction. Way bigger than the situation calls for. That over-the-top feeling, that's the signal. So here's where we need to flip the script. Instead of seeing that intense reaction as a character flaw, think of it as a treasure map. Projection isn't weakness, it's information. It is your own psyche sending you a direct message, pointing with a giant neon arrow to exactly where your lost parts are hiding.
This brings us to the most powerful and, honestly, the most hopeful part of this whole idea. Those traits you buried aren't just problems to be managed. They are sources of immense energy and potential if you can just learn to work with them.
Let's take laziness. Our culture worships being busy, right? But what if that urge to just stop isn't a moral failing? What if it's your mind and body screaming for contemplation, for reflection? What if it's the very thing that can save you from total burnout?
Or what about aggression? Such a dirty word, but integrated aggression is just directed energy. It's the fire you need to chase a hard goal. It's the strength to set a firm boundary and say no. Without it, we risk becoming passive and letting life just happen to us.
And vulnerability? Oh man, it's often seen as the ultimate weakness. But when we suppress it, we cut ourselves off from everyone. When we learn to embrace it, it becomes the absolute foundation for real human connection, for empathy, for love. It's where the good stuff is. You see the pattern here? Every single one of these traits has a raw, messy form. And that's probably why you buried it. But it also has a refined, mature form. And that refined form is a superpower. The goal isn't to just unleash chaos, it's to refine that raw energy into something useful.
This lifelong project of reclaiming and refining these lost parts of ourselves, it actually has a name in Jungian psychology, and it's seen as the ultimate goal of a conscious life.
It's called individuation. It sounds complicated, but it just means the process of becoming a whole, complete individual. Not the edited, socially approved version of you, not the Instagram filter you, the full thing, the light, the dark, and everything in between.
So how do you start on a huge journey like this? It's actually incredibly simple. It's not always easy, but the first step is simple. Just start paying attention. The next time you feel that flash of anger, that intense irritation, or that deep envy that just feels a little too much, don't push it away. Get curious. Ask yourself, what is this pointing at in me? So, I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What is one thing about yourself that you have always called a flaw? Your laziness, your anger, your sensitivity? What if it's not a flaw at all? What if it's a powerful tool and you just never learned how to use it correctly? The answer to that? Well, it could change everything.